The reason we had this resolution in the first place was because it's a serious problem today in society. We see that organizations such as MAD and issues such as drunk driving and abusive parents, those are dominant and important important issues in today's society, and we need to address that. So this is what I'm going to be doing in my speech. One, I'm going to be analyzing the reasons why it'll work this time and why it didn't work last time and how we can improve. Then I will be refuting what side opposition had to say. And then after, I will be rebuilding my partner's point. So let's go back 80 years, I'm pretty sure if my math's not incorrect. Let's go back 80 years to the 1930s when the Great Depression, well, actually 1930s, yes, it was the 1930s. 1930s when the Great Depression took place. We saw that there was a prohibition of alcohol and people were pushed to go and, well, the Americans, they were pushed to go and get illegal alcohol from Quebec, and they still satisfied their needs through that. Now, we see that the reason why the prohibition didn't work in that time was because alcohol was such an amazing thing. People wanted to drink. People wanted, not exactly to get wasted, but they wanted to relieve their stress. They wanted to get away from the world around them. They were addicted to it, and it was highly illegal, and they got their resources. They got it from Quebec, not at this time. And we see that that didn't exactly work, because when you enforce a law like this, you cannot have any holes in between. And that goes on to the underground point that side opposition had to bring forward. But essentially what we're trying to say by this is that the reason it didn't work is because the Quebec helped the Americans out, and we gave them illegal alcohol, and that isn't exactly what we're planning to do today. The reason that it will work today, though, is because after so much time, there is an emotional appeal directly related to alcohol. We see the problems such as drunk driving and child abuse. They not only affect the alcoholics, they also, I'll tell you in a moment, they affect the innocent mothers, the children, the people. These days, if you were to become an alcoholic, it is highly frowned upon, and that's why there's an emotional appeal to step away from it. Why would you disagree?
Not all people that drink are alcoholics, and please provide some analysis as to why these gangsters and these people who are selling the alcohol will listen to this emotional.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, but that will be coming in my reputation, and I understand that not everyone's alcoholics, but that was addressed in my first point. So, moving on, the reason why it will work, as I said, there's an emotional appeal, because we see that even the people that aren't alcoholics, they are getting affected today, and we need to change that. And the idea that we are helping the alcoholics, and we're rehabilitating them, and we will try our best to make sure that they get out of this addiction. Now, refuting what side opposition had to say, they said the idea of underground, and we completely agree. If you push something that's really wanted in society, it will run around. But the difference in this scenario is that we have been seeing for years after years after years, alcohol has not had the greatest effects on society. It has had probably one of the worst, and the idea that I was mentioning before, the idea of the emotional appeal, that will come back into this, not at this time. Humans, whether or not side opposition would like to agree with it or not, we are empathetic creatures. We look at one person and we try and feel their pain. We understand what they're going through. And when we look at those mothers and children who lost their fathers or get beaten by their guardians, we feel empathetic. And so that's one of the reasons for us to not go underground and go against the law. And then the second point, they brought up the idea of the status quo. They said that it's already regulated, but and they said that you won't get it if you're on a plane because the flight attendant won't let you, or if you go to an LCBO and they think you're a bit tipsy, they won't let you. Let's look at the basic mindset of an addicted alcoholic in the first place. If they really want it, they will go at any means to get it. That can go from getting people to get it for them to go and, I don't know, getting these guys is alcoholic. Well, essentially, they will go to any level to get what they want. Why would you disagree?
So therefore, they get into the black market, it will be unregulated, they're going to go back and kill themselves. How does that defeat our logic?
Well, that POI didn't really make much sense, because right now we're speaking about the present tense, how it's already regulated, and side opposition spoke about how it will go to the black market. Anyways, essentially what I'm trying to say by this point, that if you're addicted, you will do anything down to want. And then the third point, they brought up relief from stress. Basic, simple math equation. Gosh, my favorite. Anything plus sadness equals addiction and depression. Side opposition has failed to prove to us why alcohol is any different. If you are sad and you drink alcohol, please explain this to me, side opposition. How will you not be, oh my god, alcohol is so amazing? You'll be addicted to it, and then after you realize that you're in such a bottomless pit, you'll become depressed. How is this a solution whatsoever? We need to look at it from a logistic point of view. If let's look at an overweight person, for example. If they are sad and they eat a cake, That's great. The cake helps me feel better. But after that, they're going to get addicted to the cake. Man, my cake makes me feel so good. And then they're going to get depressed. Damn, I can't fit in my semi-dress. Like, that completely goes against the whole point of trying to relieve sadness. That only makes the issue worse. Now I'm going to be revealing what my partner had to bring up because they were very valid points. I was not going to take the POI. The first point that she brought up is the fact that it has so many problems. Madam Speaker, if we look at anything in society, alcohol is probably one of the things that has the most amount of disadvantages. It causes drunk driving. It causes abuse to children. It's our job as the government to step in. We cannot allow something this detrimental to the people of society to continue going on. It's so many problems, and there's actually no point whatsoever to still keep it there. And then the idea of addiction that I mentioned before, they don't have the people that are alcoholics, they don't have the mental capacity to wean themselves off the thing that is causing their demise. They will be like, it's justified, I'm okay. They're in a sense of denial. We can't rely on their ability to make that decision for them. Therefore, it's our responsibility as a government to protect our citizens and make sure that they're all living the life that they deserve. And alcohol is not part of that. And third, the idea that you brought up of a sinful society, how society has been shaped in a way that we're so dependent on alcohol to have fun. And no, my partner did not say that you need to have alcohol to have fun, but that's what entire opposition is trying to prove, that, oh my god, it's so important. We're trying to prove otherwise. It's a negative way to look at our life as protected time. It's a negative way to look at our life, and we shouldn't exactly be shaping our life in that direction. And then the fourth point she brought up, the responsibility of the government. Madam Speaker, as the government of the United States, we are responsible for our citizens. We are responsible for their well-being and their right to live and their right to make a choice. Alcohol infringes upon this right, and it is our moral obligation as the government to prove and to reinstate prohibition. Thank you. For these reasons, we beg to oppose.